are what you eat is way more true than you think it is. Changing your diet will rewire your brain, and when you do it right, set you up for massive success, way better brain function, and much better mood as well. And all within just 2 weeks at most. I know from my own experience. The truth is, it's not really your fault that your brain isn't working to its full potential. Probably. The mainstream diet advice is shit for most people, and the average food item in store sucks. But fortunately, there is a new way of eating taking over as we speak. A way which actually will give you energy and brain power to save your life. And in the last couple of months, I played around a lot with my diet and recently went on the peak performance diet. And I can tell you, it's fucking amazing. Seriously, my brain has shifted. And I'm gonna tell you, you can do the same. Because it's actually not that complicated. But I'm gonna warn you, after this video, you might want to eat 6 eggs for breakfast again, instead of the healthy cereals. But what exactly am I talking about here? What should you eat? How will changing your diet rewire your brain? And also, what are some ways to provoke change without changing what you eat? And if you do make changes, how can it be effective and still affordable? That is exactly what I focused on for the last year or so, and I finally came up with a solution. And in those next few minutes, I'll tell you all about it. So, are you ready to rewire your brain? Then let's fucking go! Okay, let's go! And to get this started and to get this make sense, I want to tell you a little bit about my story and how I discovered all this. Because probably just like you, for essentially all my life, I just ate the standard Western diet. I mainly followed the traditional food pyramid. A lot of bread, rice, pasta, some veggies, fruit, protein, fats, but especially those last two things, not too much. Of course, when I got into fitness, that changed a bit, but for essentially almost all my life I just ate a normal diet. And it was fine. I never felt huge issues, I didn't have big problems, but I was kinda interested in what else is out there. Could I feel better? Could I have better mental clarity? And especially, could I have more energy? Because with oatmeal breakfast and pasta or rice with chicken for my lunch, I never felt truly sharp and super energetic. And especially around 2 years ago, I really focused on that. I wanted to optimize my nutrition and learned a lot about this huge topic. And fast forward a few months, about a year or so ago, I tried going on a keto or low-carb diet for the first time. So essentially on keto, what you're doing is you're eating mainly fat and protein and only very little carbs. Of course, there are different variations. So the goal was to stay below 30, maximum 40 or 50 grams of carbs a day. Which, if you never tried this before, is really not that easy at first. But don't worry, it gets easier later. But I tried this, took care of my salt intake because you need more, paid attention to my fat intake because you also need more. And the first few days weren't really that bad, but it definitely took some time to get used to it. After 1 or 2 weeks, I really felt a change. I felt like I had more stable, prolonged energy, and I didn't crash after eating my lunch. And it was also way easier to prevent afternoon crashes in general. And I also had a few other additional benefits, but because it's so unusual and I was still addicted to carbs, and because it's a bit more expensive too, I kinda just stopped about 4 to 8 weeks after that. And I went back onto the standard Western diet. Then some time passed, I learned a lot more about nutrition in that time, and about 1.5 months ago, I went low carb again. Let's go! I already had learned a few things from that last time, and so the transition was quite smooth actually. It was way simpler. Then I ate pretty low carb without having a specific upper limit. Sometimes I had more carbs, sometimes I had less. I didn't really care. But I did this to prepare myself for the eventual carnivore diet. I wanted to try this. I tried it for not a long time, also a few months ago, but I wanted to give this a real shot. I wanted to try this for at least a month without cheating, actually doing it, and then to see if it really does do something good for me. And so I slowly transitioned from low carb, keto, to carnivore, which is also something I would recommend because going straight to carnivore can be quite tough. But I did this, and that's when I learned a few key things. And don't worry if you don't want to necessarily eat carnivore or maybe not even keto. The things I'm about to tell you will still apply to you. And in a few seconds, I actually want to focus on changing how you eat instead of what you eat first. Because that's what I did before I went back onto the keto diet, and it really had a big impact as well. But first, I quickly want to talk about how this change of diets actually rewired my brain. And this happened also the first time I went onto the keto diet. When you get your energy from fat instead of carbs, like you're used to, your body and your brain will change. That's a fact. For one, you burn fat as an energy source. You get into ketosis. And that's when a few things change. Fat is your energy source, so you need more fat, and you don't want to eat too many carbs because then you get out of it. But this brings some other benefits as well. One huge thing most people experience on a keto or a carnivore diet, carnivore is still keto, just without fruits and veggies and stuff, you will have way better consistent energy. In general, I think you have a bit more energy, especially when you come from a more unhealthy Western diet. But the key fact is that you have stable energy. You don't have those spikes in energy and then you crash again. Unlike everybody else in the office, you go for lunch, you eat, and you have the same or even more energy afterwards for a prolonged time. While the others, they eat their pasta with whatever, or their rice and veggies or whatever, but they get that blood sugar spike and then they crash. And you can see this in literally every office. After lunch, everybody is tired, brain fog. They are not ready for good, high quality work. It's true, I've experienced this myself as well. But that's one of the first huge benefits of low carb, and especially on the carnivore diet I noticed this too. You will eat and you will feel exactly the same afterwards. And when you eat steak and eggs, even better. But you don't crash, you don't feel like, let me just, give me an hour. Or maybe let me just go for a nap, actually. No, you still feel sharp and energetic through the whole day. And it's fucking amazing. The next thing you notice is much more improved mental clarity. For me, this wasn't as big as the energy thing, but you definitely will experience less brain fog, less confusion, less distraction from craving carbs, because you actually get used to this too. But instead you can focus. Finally, you can focus on your work instead of thinking about food, not being able to formulate your thoughts, and you can actually go for what you want to go for, your goals. So that's another big thing. Improved focus, improved alertness. You're more awake, even have more motivation. The mental aspect of changing your diet, and especially changing your diet to something low carb, is really something, in my opinion, everyone should have tried at least once or twice. And then there are two more benefits I quickly want to address. And then I'm going to tell you to change how you eat. So no matter what you eat, even if you eat the standard American diet or the Western diet, you can still apply those things and they will have a big impact as well. Then I'm going to tell you how to change what you eat, first in general, and then especially when you try to go for a low carb diet too. Then I quickly want to address the risks and give you some additional bonus tips as well. But what are those other two benefits I wanted to talk about here? For one, you will have better mood as well. This is very likely and many experience this. Personally, I think this can work for many diet changes, but especially going on a low carb or even a carnivore diet has really helped so many people to improve their mood or mental health before. Carnivore Ray, for example, struggled a lot with depression in his life. And only when he did go on the carnivore diet, he finally overcame this struggle. He finally found better mental health. And even if you're a vegan and you think carnivore is total trash, you must still appreciate that. If a diet does this for a person, that's amazing. And personally, even though I didn't struggle with depression, definitely feel a mood change as well. Especially for those last 3 or 4 weeks on this carnivore diet, my mood really went up too, and my mental health in general. So I definitely do notice a change in my brain. My brain thinks differently. And this is also supported by the second tip, or benefit actually, that I wanted to talk about. after those from before. Discipline and delayed gratification. This is pretty big as well. For one, you can't eat like 80% of the meals, which may sound sad a bit maybe, but it's actually probably a pretty good thing. So you can't eat most of the things, so of course you will have to have discipline. You also must delay gratification because you will eat something that maybe you don't crave for that much, but then it actually turns out to make you feel even better. And also, in my opinion, how you do one thing is how you do everything. There is some truth to that. And when you bring discipline, delayed gratification, actually doing what's good for you, what makes you feel the best in the long run, not the short run, when you do that with your diet, it'll also transfer over to other areas of your life. For example, for me, since going on this ketovore or carnivore diet, doing no fab became easier too, even though I did not lose sex drive. But let's not get into detail here, and let's actually move on to changing how you eat, because I have a few very important things here as well. So for one, fasting can really help to rewire your brain. It's again the delayed gratification, the discipline, controlling yourself, and especially when you just do some intermittent fasting and you just have your first meal a bit later in the day, your brain will shift too. You won't have that craving early in the morning. You can actually focus on your work. So definitely give that a chance. Then another thing, which I think has a huge impact, is to only eat until you're about 80% full. This is so important and makes even the Western diet with all the carbs a lot better too. When you do that, you also won't crash that hard after your lunch. You also will have more prolonged, sustained, stable energy. Just don't eat until you're full and you're like, oh man, I'm done. I need a break. But just eat until you're 60 to 80% full, and this will have some huge impact on your performance as well. Then chew more, just to make digestion easier. Then go on a walk after a meal, because studies have actually found that when you go on a simple 10-minute walk after you have a meal, that your blood sugar spike is way less intense. And this will lead to more stable energy, more focus, things like that. So after every meal, have a short walk also to collect your thoughts. I think that's going to be very good as well. And then lastly, just drink more water. We're still so dehydrated, man. Just get some more water. Then change what you eat. The first step, of course, is more whole, natural, real foods, less sugar, less processed foods, less fast food. You already know that. Then, if you're a bit more based, don't necessarily follow the traditional food pyramid. Eat more of the things they warn against. Not generally as a rule of thumb, but especially I'm talking about eggs, proper red meat. So no processed sausage and shit like that, but just steak. That is not the reason we are getting unhealthier. And instead eat less of the bread, pasta and the seed oils. But dissecting all that deserves its own video. I think stacking up animal foods when they are of good quality is not a problem. It will actually improve your life quality, as it does for so many people on a keto or carnivore diet, and for me as well. Animal foods are usually complete proteins, have extremely bioavailable nutrients, are very nutrient rich in general too. Liver, eggs, steak, those are way more nutritious than your bread, your seed oil and shit like that. It's crazy how we convince society that those foods are bad. The animal fats, the foods we ate since the dawn of humanity. In Germany, the official recommendation is now to eat 1 egg per week. 1 egg.
6 blood clot egg dog.
And people think it's because it's unhealthy, because of the cholesterol, because you're gonna get a heart attack. It's so wrong. Eggs are super healthy, super nutritious. And if you eat enough of them, they can change your life. But yeah, I'll talk about that in one of my next videos. To close this off, for me, staying low carb, staying in ketosis if possible, had the biggest impact. So if you want to try that too, maybe go watch a few videos on the keto diet. But the most important things to know are just increase your fat, have more salt, lower your carbs below, let's say 30 grams of carbs a day, and instead have fat and protein. You will easily get that by all animal foods. And if you're concerned about the risks, I just quickly want to calm you down. Fat doesn't make you fat. Fat is actually healthy, and saturated fat even is not the thing that society thinks it is. The worst of things. Saturated fat is essential for survival. It's essential to thrive. And again, it's something we ate since the dawn of humanity, but it's the reason for the sudden explosion of all those illnesses. I don't know, man. And if you actually read about it, for example, the big fat surprise, you will actually see that the evidence that claims that saturated fat is unhealthy is actually super weak or straight up wrong. But that too would probably deserve its own video. And if you want some more advice on how to make this diet possible without spending too much, because usually it's a bit more expensive, you can watch my video here where I talk exactly about that. And then if you like this content, I would really appreciate a like, because I think I'm gonna get a few dislikes because of this diet. But of course, it's all up to you. Have a great day, eat your eggs, and bye!